Welcome, Antonio, to our show, Java on Azure. I'm very, very happy to be with you today. We've been knowing each other for, I don't know, 15 years. A lot of years.
Many years. Well, thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. Well, I will let you introduce yourself because you're the best to talk about yourself, of course.
Oh my God. So my name is Antonio Goncalves. I'm a freelancer living in Paris, Java Champion for, I don't know, 10 years or so. And why am I a Java Champion? Because I've been working with Java for more than 20 years. I've written a few books on Java, Java EE, Quarkus. I've co-organized a user group in Paris, DevOps France in Paris, Vox microservices in Paris, and so on and so forth. So a lot of Java stuff, books, conferences, name them. And here I am.
And you've got some great announcements at the moment concerning Quarkus, because you've been working a lot with Quarkus. So you wrote 2 books, not 1, but 2. You are preparing a training for Quarkus. And as I work on Azure, we've got a lot of people asking about running Quarkus on Azure. Well, of course it works. I mean, if you run it as a Java app, it works. If you run it as a GraalVM native image, it's a bit more complicated, but let's say it works. And of course, we've got a great partnership with Red Hat, so you can we can have some better things arriving soon. But let's talk first about Quarkus.
And why did I write 2 books instead of 1?
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I've written my first book in Java EE was in 2005. Don't look for it. It was written in French and it was Java EE 5, so it's outdated. And then I wrote another book on Java EE and a third book on Java EE. And then I started to write fascicles on Amazon Kindle. So I wrote a total of 5 books, and each time when I finish a book, I tell myself I will never do that again ever. And
I know that. I wrote one. I don't want to do another one.
That's true.
Crazy.
And as you know, last year, 2020, was the COVID year. So like many of you, I stayed home. And, you know, I was going, what am I going to do? And I was working with Quarkus. I had done a proof of concept with Quarkus, and it was new. I had made a workshop on Quarkus with Emmanuel Bernard and Clément Escoffier. And I thought, hey, I'm at home. Why not write a book? And, you know, there was me going, don't do that, don't do that. And yeah, let's do it, let's do it. So I wrote a book called Understanding Quarkus. So see it as a set of chapters. There's a total of 13 chapters, but, you know, 10. One chapter about what is Quarkus, and another chapter about everything related with data, so JPA, JTA, Panache, and another chapter related with REST, so JAX REST, JSON, and so on and so forth. So see the understanding book as a list of small Hello World kind of examples. This is how you can do that in Quarkus, and this is how you can do, and blah, blah, blah. And at the same time, I was doing a training, writing a training on Quarkus, 3 days training where you actually build an entire microservice system. And so I was writing this book made of small Hello Worlds, and I was thinking, hey, you know, in this training, I ask people to write one microservice and another one, and then an Angular application, and the application talks to both microservices, and the microservices talk to each other, and you introduce fault tolerance and so on. So I thought, you know, I'm writing one book. Why not write another book, which is the practicing? So basically the practicing goes hand in hand with the understanding, and it goes hand in hand with my my training, because it's for 3 days. That's basically what you do. So yeah, understanding is really teach you all the concepts, and the practicing Quarkus is putting them together. I would not explain what CDI is or JAX-RS is in the practicing book. You just have to go to the understanding. So that's why 2.
And we forgot to say the best thing about those books. They are free.
Yes, they are.
Ah.
Yeah, it was a partnership that I did with Red Hat. So you go to the developers portal on Red Hat, you click, and you get the PDF for free. In few months, I'll put them back with all my books in Amazon, but they will stay for free on Red Hat. So at the moment, they are just for free on Red Hat. But if you want to wait a few extra months, you can pay for them and give me some money.
Okay. Well, I hope they're going to be very useful for people who want to deploy Quarkus, especially on Azure, of course, but Quarkus works everywhere. And so one more question, Antonio. I hear great things about Quarkus because it runs natively, it works with Docker images and Kubernetes. Can you tell us more about it? Because on Azure, we're big on Kubernetes. We've got Azure Kubernetes services, and I would like to run also my Quarkus workloads on Kubernetes.
So the good thing with Quarkus is it's built on an extension model. So everything in Quarkus is an extension. Actually, Quarkus core is really small. And it comes with a Docker extension and a Kubernetes extension. So on my understanding book, the chapter 10 is called Cloud Native. And there I will show you how to use the Docker extension, and really it's you add an extension to your POM XML, and you go Maven something with a few properties, and it creates and it can create and deploy the Docker image. Then there's a Kubernetes extension. Actually, there's a couple of them. Kubernetes, so the one in the book, it's the Kubernetes extension that works with Minikube. And then Quarkus comes with a couple of extensions. I think, well, OpenShift for sure. And I'm not sure about others. Anyway, it creates, a Kubernetes file. And with your Minikube, you can deploy your microservices. So Quarkus is, if you read the tagline of Quarkus, you go to the Quarkus website and it's written supersonic, subatomic Java. I love this sentence. But, below it's written Kubernetes native Java stack. So it's really Quarkus as Kubernetes in mind, and it's very easy to create and deploy a Docker image and generate a Kubernetes file.
Yeah, so for me, because I'm thinking as a Java developer on Azure, so I've already got several different options to deploy my Java app to Azure, but now I can also build it as a Docker image, and we've got several ways to deploy Docker images on Azure, and I can also deploy it to Quarkus, so I've got like 10 different options to deploy the same app to Azure. So maybe it can be fun to do a workshop where you try all the different deployment options. You take the same app and you deploy it to Java, Docker, Kubernetes, and see which one performs the best or which one costs less. I don't know. Do you have any recommendations concerning performance and maybe cost?
Well, on my understanding book, I do a small performance thing. It's always difficult to do a proper benchmark, but Quarkus runs on JVM and on GraalVM. The neat thing with Quarkus is it does most of the work at build time. If you come from a Java EE or Spring world, you package your code into a WAR file, you deploy it to a server, and you wait. Why? Because the server needs to introspect your WAR, takes all the metadata, takes all the XML config files, create proxies, generate stuff, and then it's ready. So some containers cheat a little bit. They can start very, very quickly, but they don't do anything because they are busy introspecting your code. So what I did was, the first request from the time you boot Quarkus, and the first request comes back, and it's quite amazing. So Quarkus is the other way around. Everything is done at build time. So when you compile, it generates proxies if it needs to. It configures your code, etc., etc. So at runtime, the code is there. The code is there, configured with all the proxies that have been created and so on. So it's very fast to start, but it's very fast to respond to the first request. And then you move to the Graal VM world, and it's times 10. It's quite impressive. It's quite impressive.
Yeah, so what you're telling me is that I'm not going to take my coffee at the same time. When I was working with JBoss, I remember we were taking coffees each time we were going to do deployment. Now I take my coffee when I compile, but I still take my coffee, so that's fine for me.
And when you compile with Graal VM, you can take a coffee
and lunch.
And lunch.
and lunch in France, because in France when we have lunch, when we have lunch together, usually it's 2 or 3 hours, and yeah.
That's the perfect time for Graal VM to compile your code.
So thanks a lot, Antonio, and I'm very happy
Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm very happy that we finished with something about French food, because that's what we love together.
Of course.
And I hope we will be able to talk again about Quarkus on Azure in another video.
Who knows? Maybe side by side.
Oh, yeah. By the way, I will put under the video the links to your book, because they're free, and that's everything that is free is, of course, awesome. Thanks a lot, and see you soon. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.